What would you do if reason ran dry? Imagine you've been the calm voice of reason your whole life, always offering gentle, practical advice to others, a voice of peace, a guiding light in someone else's darkest moments. Now imagine the world finally turns on you. That's where Dear Debbie begins, not with a bang, but with life unraveling in everyday, almost familiar ways. But what seems ordinary quickly turns sharp, twisted, and at times dangerously funny. This is the story of a woman who built her identity on reason and then discovered that when reason runs dry, people can turn to something much darker and far more potent. Who is Debbie Mullen? Debbie Mullen was once on track to be brilliant in the traditional high-powered sense. She was a math and computer science whiz in college, so sharp and promising that she could have been one of the greats in tech. Yet life took her down a different path. She became a stay-at-home mom in cozy New England suburbia, raising 2 teenage daughters, gardening peacefully, and writing a weekly advice column for her local newspaper. She wasn't unhappy, just not living up to the promise she'd once pictured. Her column, Dear Debbie, became a trusted ear. Wives wrote to her about being ignored, belittled, betrayed, and Debbie always had a sensible, measured answer. She was like the trusted neighbor. You know the one, wise, steady, the person you'd call at 2 a.m. if life got unexpectedly messy. Life starts falling apart. So what happens when the person who hands out reason begins to lose it? It starts small. A rival neighbor gets the spotlight instead of her garden feature. Her editor fires her for giving tough love that barely crossed the line, advising a woman to leave an abusive husband. Her husband's job stagnates, putting tension into her domestic life. Her daughters are dealing with real problems, heartbreak, betrayal, and chauvinism that affects their confidence and safety. In short, the world stops listening, and Debbie begins to feel powerless. But Debbie doesn't stay powerless. The moment of choice, when advice becomes action. One night, after burying her frustration and losing her column permanently, Debbie makes a quiet decision. She's done being reasonable. She's done being practical. She's done giving other people the benefit of the doubt. And suddenly, the advice she used to hand out, all those clever ways to get justice for wrongs, starts looking like plans. What if the calm psychiatrist's advice to a reader about asserting boundaries became something far more literal? What if the woman who once said, "Know your worth," suddenly found her own version of worth through less than gentle means? This is the shift that takes Debbie from counselor to architect of her own brand of justice. Debbie's new toolkit: brain, tech, and grit. Now we see Debbie's old life laddering back into the story, not as nostalgia, but as tools. Remember her MIT-era prowess? That computer science brain doesn't just vanish. She uses it, and other tech, like tracking apps, to start uncovering secrets and patterns around her. Every detective thriller you've ever read has a moment where the sleuth finds a clue that changes everything. Debbie becomes the sleuth. But unlike most detectives, she's not looking for a criminal, she becomes one in pursuit of what she believes is justice. It's like watching a chess master switch sides mid-game, and every move she makes seems so smart, so calculated, that you can't help thinking, if someone had wronged me, maybe I'd do exactly the same thing. Where good intentions blur into danger. Here's the clever twist of the story, and one that makes it feel cinematic. Debbie's morality is real, but her methods become extreme. That's what makes her story gripping. She's not a cartoon villain. She's not a comic book anti-hero. She's someone we've all known. Someone who once gave thoughtful, comforting advice, and then discovers how much power can live beneath that calm exterior. It's like a rose garden hiding a steel core. You see the petals, but the thorns are sharp. So when Debbie uses her mind and her skills to go after people who hurt her or her loved ones, some actions will make you gasp. Some will make you nod with a satisfying pang. Some will make you question whether revenge is ever worth the cost. Resonating themes. There are a few big ideas that Dear Debbie plays with, and they're the ones that make the story stick with you long after the last page. Number 1, identity versus expectation. Debbie built her life helping others while hiding her own intelligence and incapacity for forceful action. She's like a quiet library that suddenly becomes a forge. Number 2, when patience turns to fury. There's something human in her journey. The transformation from calm to fierce echoes a question we all ask ourselves at times. How long can you give and be ignored before something inside breaks? Number 3, justice, morality, and gray zones. The story doesn't paint every choice as black or white. Debbie's decisions force us to wrestle with the uncomfortable truth that sometimes the right thing and the right method don't look the same. Character moments to remember. Debbie, of course, practical, sharp, and magnetic once she steps out of her comfort zone. Her daughters, each facing their own battles, reminding us that family isn't a safe harbor, it's a complex, living thing. Her husband, whose secrets push Debbie further, not into fantasy, but into cold calculation. These characters are mirrors to the central theme of what happens when life demands more than you planned to give. Final reflections. As the story wraps up, Debbie's world looks very different. She has brand new power, yes, but at what price? This is not a fairy tale with a tidy ending. It's a modern thriller that leaves you thinking long after you finish about choices, consequences, and where compassion ends and survival begins. So, if you take away just one big idea from Dear Debbie, let it be this. The most ordinary life can contain extraordinary force, especially when someone finally decides to stop holding back. If that makes you curious, if you want to experience this twisty, psychological thriller for yourself, I invite you to pick up the full book on Amazon. It's a story that surprises, unsettles, and pushes you to think about what justice really looks like. And don't forget, stay tuned for our next audiobook summary tomorrow. We'll help you know what a book is about before you spend your money. Every day, a new summary, so you decide what truly speaks to you. Happy listening.